you want to let everybody in
on it. Hello, everybody.
Look, I'm trying not to type too loudly here. My whole team makes fun of me for how I type.
She is a loud typer.
I mean, I just mean it, what I say. All right, we should be going live here. Hi, okay, we're live. Welcome, everybody. So good to see you guys. I feel like we've had such a beautiful journey together, and I'm so honored and humbled to wrap it up with Mo, who has poured into us so much the last couple months through her writing and by joining us. Mo, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. I just can't believe that there are some of you who are talking about the book. You know, when I wrote it, I didn't think anybody would want to read it. And so this has been really exciting to see that you kind of even want to talk about it.
We do. We definitely do. We've had so many good guests joining us on our Zooms and so many good discussions. And I'm excited to hear some of the ahas and takeaways and actual implementation and gratitude that some people are going to share with you. For me, I want to share that I have been waking up at 5 a.m. for the first time in my life and getting my workout done first thing, because that's what successful people do, and that's what hard workers do, and that's what people with joy do. So it hasn't always been pleasant, and let me make sure my husband's muted. He is. So on my team, we tightened up standards quite a bit, and we had a little bit of turnover, and then attracted a super crazy talented buyer's agent who wants to be pushed. And then I've been tracking my numbers and looking more in my financials because profit matters. So thank you for those things.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah. What about you guys? I want to dive into a couple questions I prepared for Mo. And first, I want to hear some of the things that you guys have been doing.
If you'll raise your hand, I can unmute you. Grace.
Grace. Go ahead, Grace. Beautiful.
Hello. Hi, everybody. So I have to tell you that after, number one, after reading before this, Mo's book and especially the chapter I Love Your Country, and having the honor, thank you, Missy, for allowing me to lead that discussion. There's been so many things that have changed just in that military little group arena that we have, because Mo has propelled us to do that, and I want to thank you, Mo, and you, Missy, for allowing us to have that platform here that has allowed us to move forward in other arenas to help our military families. But it all started with that chapter in that book. Every time we quote that or say Mo directed us to do that, I mean, doors open, people move. So thank you both.
Oh, you're welcome, Grace. That's so exciting to hear.
It is. Thank you, Mo.
Yeah, and thank you, Grace, for reaching out. I still need to send you my dad's contact information.
Yes.
My dad was on that call that Grace was on, and Grace enlisted his help for some of these initiatives, and it made my dad feel very special, and it was a really cool moment for me. I was a little emotional.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, I think, he was a Master Chief in the Navy, and I think he's going to be invaluable helping us move all of this forward, because we can always use the help of, a military veteran to help us. So thank you, Missy, for that introduction. And again, thank you, Mo.
You're welcome, sweetie.
Yep. Christina, There. Oh, I muted you. There you go.
Thanks. I had read the book when I first got it, when it first came out, and then rereading it with different intention and just focusing on each chapter through this book club has been absolutely amazing. And the biggest thing that I'm so grateful for, and it's something that I've always had, is faith. And looking at what could be the worst day of your life and knowing that God has a plan for you, and just go, okay, you got my attention, where am I going? And I've just always lived my life. And then reading that in the book, I think the faith portion of it was the most meaningful for me, because I have always had that type of, not feeling sorry for me, like the world is caved in. It's like, okay, time to shift. Where am I going? And I'm just so grateful that each chapter had so much meaning to me, and I'm just really grateful, Mo. Thank you so much. And Missy, for this book club's been amazing.
My pleasure. Wendy.
Hi, Mo. I'm so glad that you're feeling better from your surgery.
Very good.
You look fantastic. I just wanted to share that what reading the book actually for the first time for me, I love how you set your goals in the beginning, and you stayed with those goals throughout your life and never let go of your dreams. And it's really helped me to, I have two daughters that are 20 and 21, and they're still trying to figure out their life's path. And I've been talking about your book and sharing with them that you have to set goals and have dreams, because you can't achieve something if you don't have a dream that you're following. You have to have the end game in mind. So it's helping them to kind of build a path for themselves in their lives. And I love just the overcoming adversity. When your house burned to the ground and you were looking for guidance on what to do, like as we're going through COVID right now and everyone's really overcoming adversity in so many different ways, it just reminds me that there's a reason for everything, and it's just been a time of reflection and just to keep going. And your book's been inspiring. You're just, you inspire me in so many ways. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, I just loved hearing you say that. It was wonderful. Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Mo.
We've got time for one more gratitude, and then I want to dive into some questions about this book that I have. Alex, go ahead. By the way, Alex signed this week with Keller Williams Norman.
Oh, Alex, that's so exciting.
I'm so excited. Going through this book club, I'm not licensed yet, but Missy still allowed me to join with you guys all to do this and be able to listen to every guest speaker, being able to listen to Missy and you, Mo, and reading your book and everything. It just validated so much for me of the choice that I made joining with Keller Williams of Norman. And I'm just, I don't know, I'm just, it really validated everything, because I was really clueless as to where I was going to go. I knew I wanted to go into real estate. I didn't know where though. And so this really helped me, and it really showed me that it's okay to have a small little family and go into a new business. Like you can change, careers throughout your life and still make it. And so I really appreciate that.
Oh, this is exciting. Missy, I'm going to want to hear about her.
You will. She's going to do big things.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And she has fire in her belly to make more money than she needs so she can give it away.
Yep, that's right.
Oh, that's awesome. I bet she knows some people you need to get to know.
I bet so. All right. Well, Mo, in journeying through this, I've been thinking quite a bit about you and your journey in your book. And one question I'm just dying to know the answer to, two of them. One, if you were going to write the book again and add another chapter, what would it be about?
It would be about when I was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. The Oklahoma Hall of Fame is a huge deal in Oklahoma. And being in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, I had heard of it all my life because it started in 37, the year I was born. But it never, ever entered my mind that I might be in it. I mean, it wasn't a goal. I just admired the people that were in it and thought, oh my goodness, it must be wonderful to have the people in Oklahoma choose you. And it was just something that it was outside of my realm of thinking. And when you keep in mind the poverty era of my life, and then I call it the achievement era of my life, I did most of that in Texas. You know, I had basically moved to Austin. And so I think it never entered my head because, well, I was kind of doing it in Austin, you know? And when they called me and told me that I had been chosen, I said to him, you've made a mistake. Nobody's nominated me, you know. Well, they did it secretly through Kelly, and she, of course, didn't tell me. Oh, I would add that chapter because for not my personal life, I mean, not my family life, but for my life outside my family, that was just a huge deal for me. And oh, I just wish you all could see the video of it, you know. And there I was with Carrie Underwood and Reed Drummond, who's, you know, the pioneer woman cooking person that has millions and millions and millions of followers. Carrie Underwood has, you know, like 20 million followers, and here's Mo Anderson with about 150,000 people who know her. And it was really, really exciting. And man, I'd have a whole chapter on that, of how when you are tenacious and you're willing to do whatever it takes, it always results in some kind of a reward that you don't even dream about.
Wow, from digging potatoes to Oklahoma Hall of Fame. That's amazing.
And I had so many Keller Williams people who had heard about it, and they bought tickets and flew in for it. Do you know, you all, there were 1,500 people there that night. And each table, if I remember right, holds either 8 or 10 people. And there ended up being 43 tables of Keller Williams people.
That's fantastic.
43. And some of my friends, you know, who aren't Keller Williams. So 43, say, assuming it was 10 at each table, that would be 430 people out of the 1,500 were people who were there for me. You know, I just couldn't believe it when I walked in and saw New York people and California people, and oh my goodness. Wendy Papazan even came. I mean, I just wanted to go up and squeeze the life out of her. I was so honored. So that's the chapter I would add.
So do you ever look back, since you published the book, do you ever recall memories or stories from other times in your life and think, you know, gosh, that would have been great to put in my book?
Well, I struggled in writing the book about putting in our son's alcoholism. I mean, I have had challenges you wouldn't believe. A lot of them are, you know, I just didn't want to embarrass him because he's doing so good now, you know, 18 years or whatever the number is of sobriety, and he's about to become a grandfather, and I'm about to become a great grandmother. And I really wrestled because I thought, if I put it in the book, there's going to be some family that it's going to help.
Right.
You know, that I'm open about it and what we went through and all that. So yeah, I kind of vacillate every now and then, should I have put some of those stories in the book,
Yeah.
but I didn't.
Well, maybe we'll get a volume 2. I mean, you're only 83, right?
That's
83?
right. Now that I have a new heart valve, I think I'm going to make it another 10 or 20 years.
Well, we're counting on it. So since the book was published, you've had several kind of milestones since then. Chapter 20, one of our favorites, is connecting the dots, and how you look back and you see how all the things come together to bring you where you are. What dots would you add since the book was published?
Well, I probably would also add about COVID, the racial inequalities, and the true protesters versus the bad people that have infiltrated their efforts to protest and turned it into burning buildings down. I don't know how I would connect the dots about this situation because enough time has not passed for me to begin to see how the dots connect. But I can tell you this. If I were to add a chapter on what's happening right now, I would be able to say some of the good that has come out of it. And one of the good things that has come out of it is that we now have a national diversity task force. We have regional diversity task forces. And then I want us to put in the ALC manual for the IALC, I want each market center to have a diversity task force with kind of a little job description of what they need to do, because I want Keller Williams to be a super safe place where a Black agent or an Indian agent or a Hispanic or a white agent, whatever color they are, to be able to come into the team leader and really share from their heart what's bothering them. Because when we don't know what people think and feel, we don't know how to fix it.
Right.
And when we know, then the team leader and the diversity committee can go absolutely fix whatever needs to be fixed, if you know what I mean.
I do, and
And so I believe that it's going to enable Keller Williams to take our efforts to be the beacon in a dark business world up to the next level, because we've done really good in most places, but we have some units that really need to work on that, because the diverse people or the minority groups haven't been treated like they should have been. So it has exposed that in our company, and now we're doing something about it. And I'm so proud, because our leadership and our agents seem to really want to move forward in that area. So I could list some of the good things that's happened. I think finally, for the first time in I don't know how long, it's really being talked about in the world, especially in the US. And now if we can just handle the radicals who want to destroy our country and turn us into a communist nation, we'll be okay. But boy, we've got a big problem to deal with, because masses of young people have bought into the indoctrination that socialism works, and it doesn't. And I'm 83, and I've watched it fail in country after country after country that these kids don't know about because they're too young, and it wasn't taught in the schools, or at least in the public schools and the public universities. So we've got a lot of work to do to save our country, in addition to dealing with race relations and COVID and whatever other virus is going to come down the pike.
I know.
Because I'll tell you one thing, I think we've learned: you cannot shut down business.
Ooh,
We're going to
that's
have to
true.
figure out how to deal with viruses without shutting down businesses, because we don't want 40 million people out of work anymore. And they were all working before COVID. So there's a lot of good things that have come out of it and a lot of lessons we've learned. Connecting the dots will be able to be done probably 10 years down the road.
That's amazing.
But time has to elapse in order for you to connect dots.
Yeah. Kale says, I believe you set the tone for that acceptance of diversity through your prayers at Inspirational Breakfast.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I do it, is because most of you know that when I hooked up with Gary Keller years ago, I was so impressed with the Y4C2Ts, because it was the first time in my lifetime I'd ever seen a company lay out a piece that was a foundational piece for culture. Now, you can lay it out, and if you don't implement it, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans. But I saw such a desire in Gary's heart to implement it. And although he didn't know how to implement it, frankly, as good as I did, because I had really experimented with a lot of that stuff before I ever met him. But see, that's what made us a great partner, is he dreamed it up and I knew how to go make it happen. And although I didn't make it happen probably at the level I wish I could have, it caught hold, didn't it?
Yes,
Don't you agree? It caught hold. And so there you go.
Yep. Well, it makes me think of the verse. I put this in my questions, my thought questions for you, because I've tuned into several Zooms that you've done in the past couple months, and this verse always pops up. So I want to give you a minute to preach on it, because I love hearing your passion, and you do.
She says, preach on it.
Well, y'all, if you
okay, girl.
Grace knows, she's like, oh, I've heard this. So 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Tell me a little about your relationship with that verse and what that means to you.
Well, a Sunday school teacher made me memorize it when I was a kid. And she really held us accountable. You know, I kind of learned accountability under that teacher. You know, when I was 4, 5, 6, and 7, we had to learn that verse. And I really didn't understand what it really meant, I think, when I was a child. But I never, ever forgot the verse. It just was stuck in my head. So when I grew older, like my teenage, college, adult years, whenever I experienced any kind of fear and I could feel it really gripping my mind, I would say that verse over and over and over and over. And I was always able at some point to kick out the fear. So the verse became very huge in my life, because I knew I could rely on that verse to get me out of a mindset of fear. And then I think I shared with you the first 4 days of COVID, I had all this fear that I hadn't saved enough money to be able to make all the cash calls in 3 offices, a region, and a national company. And I thought, this is stupid. Why am I worrying about this when it hadn't happened yet? If I don't have enough money, then I'll deal with it, you know? So I said that verse a million times, and then the fear left, and I've been calm ever since. And just thinking how stupid I was to have wasted 4 days and 4 nights on fear. So that's why I tell people, when you have a challenging situation in your life, whether it's personal or business, and you're overcome with fear, to lean into your faith, because hopefully in every religion holy book has something in it like that, and to lean into what you are supposed to have learned in Quantum Leap, but they took it out of the book, but now Gary's putting it back in. The 4 truths about mindset, because see, when the scripture says he's given us the spirit of power, that's really confidence to get your butt off of the couch. You know what I'm saying? And man, that feels good when you really want to go pick up the phone and make your calls, or you really want to go knock on the doors and do whatever you do, or you really want to go to that civic club meeting because you want to meet 40 new people to put in your database, or whatever, you know, and you feel confident, and you have that power, and you have that adrenaline, and you just do it, and you just love it because you're doing it. You all know how that feels. Then he says, I've given you a spirit of power, of love. Well, you love somebody in your life, so you know how that feels. And hopefully you love your fellow associates in your different units, in your different market centers, so you know what that feels like. Then he says, a sound mind. Well, a sound mind is the same thing as mindset. A sound mind and a proper mindset are the same thing. So you see the verse, and then the leaning on what you learned, the 4 truths about mindset put together really makes you powerfully able to get rid of the negativity.
That's incredible. Quick question, Mo. We normally end these at 12:45. I want to be respectful of your time.
My next call is at 1:30.
Okay, so can we go until 1?
You can go as long as you want, just so I get on my next call at 1:30.
Well, twist my arm. So another question I had, I know in both visiting with you in person and reading your book and hearing you speak, I know that profit share is something that you are extremely passionate about. And sometimes I hear some frustration that we're just not getting it. And at this time, with all of the tools and resources and technology that we have to help agents during a pandemic really grow their business, and also with all of the social equality task forces, what are some things that we can be doing to really focus on recruiting right now?
It is so simple. It's like falling off a log, and people just don't understand how simple it is. It's this simple. When you have a transaction with an agent in your MLS area, an agent that they might be new and they might be making some mistakes, but you can see that they're good people, and you can really see that if they had the proper training, they wouldn't make those mistakes. And maybe they've only done 4 deals in their life, but it's when you say to them, you know what, I have loved working with you, and I think you have a lot of potential in this business to grow and be a great agent and just be a huge blessing to your family. And I want to invite you to a training session we're having in the Market Center. It's that simple. It is that simple, because agents are starved for compliments, for love, and for tools. And you don't dump all the tools on them all at once. You just say, you know, I so enjoy working with you, and I want you to come over and let me show you what new thing I've learned on our technology. And then you just show them 1 or 2 things that will blow their socks off. Do you get my point? Now let's say that you have done a deal with an agent that is really good and they do lots of transactions and you respect them and you would love to learn from them. Well, then you say, you know what, Missy? I love doing deals with you. You know, in the last deal we did, you jumped through hoops to get this thing closed. And I can't tell you, you're really my favorite person in the MLS to do deals with. And I want to know if you would be willing to come to our market center and just let us ask you questions because we all admire you so much. And then
Wow.
see, you run and tell your team leader that she's got to invite her to come and talk to.
Are you listening, Stephanie?
You say, Stephanie, please let me invite this person to talk because here's what I told them. And then see, that gets them in your market center. And then you get 4 or 5 people ready to ask them questions so that there's no pause. You know, when the team leader says, we're so excited to have Tom here, and we get to ask him questions. And then see, you ask the questions, and then Stephanie grabs him and says, you know what, Tom, I want to sit down with you, and I don't want to talk about Keller Williams. I want to talk about your business. I want you to teach me everything about your business because there might be something I can share with you or give you just to thank you for the way you do business. Do you get my point? That's how easy it is. Love on them. Tell them how much you appreciate them because they don't get told that because everybody thinks real estate is super competitive. And if I say something nice to them, no, they are dying to be told that you love to work with them. But don't you dare ever say it when you don't mean it. It's got to be a person that you really respect. And then run and tell Stephanie that you told them. And then y'all figure out how to get them in the office.
I love that.
It's just simple. You know, it's when you're doing your lead generation. I'm so excited about Alex because, you know, she's new. And I'm sure you've explained to her thoroughly that she's really not getting into real estate. What she's getting into is a lead generation business that will funnel her real estate business. But it's the lead generation that she has to do in order to grow her business. So let's say that Alex is very disciplined and she has agreed to spend 3 hours a day, which is what Gary teaches, on lead gen because she already has 200 or 300 people in her database. I mean, she's got to have that before she even gets her, you know, she hangs her license. Or maybe you're an experienced agent and you spend 3 hours a day lead generating. Well, take 15 or 20 minutes of that lead generation time and just call up people that you love doing business with and call them up and say, listen, Grace, I want you to know that I have a new listing that I know you're going to want to show. And I haven't even put it on MLS yet because I wanted, you know, to tell you about it before I stick it on the computer. And I want you to show this listing. And Grace, by the way, do you know how much I love doing deals with you? You're amazing. I want you to sell this one because you always cross every T and dot every I. And I've learned a lot from watching you, Grace. You're amazing. And by the way, would you be willing to come over and let us ask you questions? Or you could say, I want you to come over because Gene Rivers is coming to town and he's teaching and he's going to blow you away. I want you to be my guest. Not because I'm trying to recruit you. Get over that. It's because I love doing business with you and I want to do something for you. Do you hear that? Is that hard?
Nope. One of Ben Kenny's favorite things that he says, one of my favorite things he says is, what is it? Something about people complicate things to justify their inaction. And this is really simple to do.
Well, there are a lot of wonderful scripts, the recruiting scripts you can use. But I have found in my own life, in my recruiting, is that when I just love on them, they become butter on a hot stove. And they melt and they just do anything you want them to do when they know you really care about them. Just like the mother-daughter team I recently recruited from Berkshire Hathaway. I just loved on them. And they did whatever I told them to do. You know what? I love you guys so much that I want you to get it from the horse's mouth, not from me. I want you to get it from the team leader in the Edmond Market Center, because that's where they lived, was Edmond. Well, they went to the team leader in the Edmond Market Center and got recruited. Do you see? I could have sat there and told them all about Keller Williams, but I didn't. I talked to them about their business.
Yeah, that's incredible. Mo, I've got, Kale just said something. Kale, I'm going to unmute you because I want you to share what you just wrote.
Sure. I happened to grab my the Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible as we were going back and talking about the 2 Timothy 1:7, and I looked at all the different words, and of course I knew that love was agape, the godly love, and power is actually translated from dynamis, the word that we get our word dynamite from, the explosion, that power, that miracle power. The one that really stood out to me, however, was the word for sound mind, and in the Greek it's sophronismos. To literally hear
Can you hear him?
It's cutting out a little bit,
control.
Kale. There we go.
Oh, sorry. I have a bad, yeah. It translates to discipline or self-control. My internet's a little bit unstable, so sorry about that. But the self-control is where that literally translates. Sound mind is discipline, and self-control, which is the perfect tie-in to the first of the 6 personal perspectives. That's commitment to self-mastery. And so that power and love and that sound mind is discipline and self-mastery. And that just really stood out to me.
You ought to have him do a little session in the market center on that.
I know.
Ooh.
We've got another preacher.
I am.
Thank you, Kale.
Oh, Kale, that was beautiful. But you know what? I'm just mesmerized with the picture that's behind you. Oh my word. How did you do that? Well, you're techie. You understand all that stuff.
Yes, that was when I told you that I really appreciated you helping me with my money story, because you really made a huge difference in my life with that. And that's when I really took out of your book too. Thank you.
I just want to reach through this TV and hug you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Oh man, you're so lucky to have him, because see, I don't know Greek. I look up those words and I don't even know how to say them. He even knows how to say them. Yep. I'm so impressed. And here you've related a scripture verse to the actual original Greek meaning in a way that you can apply it to business. That is brilliant.
Mo's all fired up now. Speaking of dynamite.
Oh man, that was dynamite, Kale. I love that.
Well, guys, let's, I want to wrap up in about 5 minutes. What questions or thoughts or gratitudes would you love to share with Mo? Stephanie's trying to unmute herself. I see. Look, I know her so well. She doesn't have to say me or wave her hand. I see her start going like this.
I know. Thank
There
you.
she is. There's my girl.
Hi, Mo. You know what? I just have to say, this has been this book study. I haven't been able to go be live on all of them, but I've watched every single one of them. And I want to first say thank you to you, Mo, for writing this incredible book. And secondly, to Missy for putting it out there for all of us to enjoy. And I will tell you, you know, when you were sharing about the Hall of Fame,
You were there.
I know, and I've got to tell you, she stole the show.
Let's hear about it. Tell us more.
It was so incredible. It was every who's who of Keller Williams was there. And being a team leader in this region, we were so grateful to be invited. And we all got to dress up really fancy schmancy. And I actually took my daughter, who is a huge Carrie Underwood fan as well. And she actually said, Mo's more popular than Carrie Underwood. And I'm like, I know, in our world, she is. And I know when you were sharing about the surprise of it, you know, being there, that came through. This was not something that you had expected, and yet, and that made it even more brilliant and more touching and more rewarding. And when you got up there and you speak to everyone the same. I mean, your words, you're so authentic, because I've seen you speak at the Annie Oakley Society. I've seen you speak at many other of your philanthropy places here in Oklahoma, because wherever Mo speaks and I'm invited, I go. And she always says, you're here. And I'm like, if I'm invited, I go, because you speak, you speak the same to everyone. And it's always going to be about love. It's always going to be about hard work. It's always going to be about doing the right thing. And you have made me a better person because of how you live your life. And being at Keller Williams has just changed me. And it's not the being at Keller Williams, it's who I have become, being surrounded by the people at Keller Williams.
At Keller Williams.
And I just love you. I just love you.
Oh, that is so sweet, Stephanie. Let me tell you one more little bitty story about that night. I told Jane Giroux, who was one of the narrators or one of the facilitators of the evening, and she's a former Miss America that everybody in Oklahoma adores. And I said, Jane, I'm going to get the crowd to respond to me. I'm going to get them saying stuff. She said, Mo, you can't do that. That'll never happen. Remember? And I got him. I said, now I want you to say, with vim and vigor, I will never retire. You know, all that stuff I did. And that was so fun because people responded. But of course, there were enough Keller Williams people there. I knew if nobody else responded, I'd still have a lot of noise. That was the funnest thing I think I've ever done. And she just rolled her eyes when it was over. She said, I never dreamed you'd be able to get that to happen. You know how I do in the middle of a speech, I'll want you to say something and I'll say, now repeat after me. I did that. With 1,500 people.
I love it. Leilani?
Well, my favorite chapter is Love Your Neighbor, because that's really like telling people what they should do in these times right now. It really relates to these situations. So that's my favorite chapter. And Missy, thank you for holding this book club. And thank you for writing the book.
You are just a doll. Mama, you should be really proud of this young woman.
You have no idea.
You're going to be a major leader when you grow up.
And, you know, like your mama told you, I try to pass that down to her to, you know, be volunteer in her student body. And she does. The first year she was able to run, she ran for fire marshal, and she's her student body representative. And, you've led such a good example, and, you've changed my life, and now you're changing my daughter's. And this is just wonderful.
Have you told her to be on every committee she can possibly be on? Because that's where she gets to practice being a leader.
Absolutely.
Well, she's got a great start. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you,
She's
Mom.
articulate, she's beautiful, and she has accomplished things already in her young life.
Yes.
Way to go, girlfriend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I've got time for one more and then we'll close out. We've got a couple messages over here too. Heather Owens, my lovely Kelly, says she's the epitome of our state motto, work conquers all. Lee Bogar says, Lee, by the way, was my guest for Accept That You Will Be Tested, and she shared some about her life journey with Joe, and a really powerful session. She says, Mo, so incredibly thankful for your insight and grit through all you've gone through.
I'm trying to find Lee.
She doesn't have
Oh,
her
there
name
she
on
is.
it.
It's a picture of her. Oh, that's great.
Oh, here she
Thank you.
comes. I'm unmuting you, Lee.
There she is for real.
It won't let me unmute her. Heather, oh, there we go.
I just had such a good time reading the book again and getting to speak about those challenges. And your inspiration is always inspiring, and I just love it. Love being with you.
Well, it's so good to see you, Lee. Here's a hug.
Yeah. Well, we have, at the beginning of this, Mo gave me 2 books to give away. I'm getting emotional. What is this? Woo! And I gave one away already to someone that I wanted to pour some life into, and I knew that Mo wouldn't care and I could do with him what I want. And the other one, actually, Leilani, I want to give to you. So I'm going to be sending you this signed copy by Mo because I'm so proud of you and how you've been to every session that you could, and what a fierce little leader you are. We all believe in you, and I want you to have this. All right, guys, thank you so much for this. Mo, thank you for being the kind of leader that pours into us and believes in us and never settles for less than the best from us. We all love you so, so much, and you're in our Hall of Fame too.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. It's been fun. So here's a goodbye kiss. See you later, and I'm proud of you, and do good.
We will. Love you, Mo.
Bye.
Bye.